how's it going, Chelsea? This is looking great. I like how this is coming along. So let's take a finer look. But yeah, I like the incorporation of the notes. I can see them for the notes I gave over the last couple weeks. I just want to take a look at this beginning part. Trying to get zoomed in properly here. I like the lean forward and stuff you have going on before they come and step forward and catch their weight. One of the things I feel like is the foot. Ooh, let me get to a drawing tool. The screen, this foot here, I'd like to see that move forward quicker. It feels like it's up off the ground for a little too long for my taste. So let's see. It's picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 12 frames. And one of the things I want you to take a look closely at that spacing. So maybe I'd try to make it quicker. Maybe you can delay even picking up the foot. I think it's fine. Like this, where it kind of rolls up off the heel, feels really nice here. Maybe you can just keep that going a little bit longer, like the heel lift, the foot roll up a little longer to make the amount of time that it's in the air shorter. It's funny, like it reminds me of when I was learning about how to do a bird wing flying animation, and I think a lot of the assumptions that I was seeing out of a lot of animators were that they bring the wings down really fast. This is kind of like maybe a little long story to explain this, but if you watch birds in real life, it's when they lift their wings up that it's really fast, and then when they bring their wings down, it's really slow, because that's when they're like in control and lifting them, using the air to propel themselves forward and lift themselves up. It's when they like lift their wings up that they're falling. And so that's like the really quick action, because they want to like be in control. It kind of reminds me of, like when this foot is up off the ground, that's when this character is like kind of falling, right? And so they're not going to lift up their foot until they kind of have to catch their weight from like really falling on their butt. Okay, so that was probably a long explanation. But the other thing I want you to do is watch, when you get this foot in here, is watch the spacing. Because I'm seeing, like, this is a nice slow roll up. I really like that. But then if you look at the very first frame where they're bringing it forward, that's a pretty large jump, I think. Maybe you can ease into that forward motion a little bit more. And then the spacing here feels a little slowed down. You know what I'm trying to say? Hopefully you can see what I'm saying. I noticed another little spacing thing between this pose and that pose is pretty extreme, where the one before it is like... But maybe it's okay to speed up the foot as it's nearing this pose. I think one of the nice things you could do here is just have a little bit of a settle. So maybe the toe is up ever so slightly, and then on this frame the toe goes down. Just some kind of adjust. I'm really seeing how this hip is rotating here, and it really feels like there's weight being loaded up and everything. I think that's really cool. But the other thing I'm noticing is, like, if you kind of track the forward progress of the center of gravity, it's moving forward, and then it doesn't have much of an ease out with its movement in this direction. It just kind of like stops and hits a wall. I like the settling down that you have going on here, but maybe it also just needs a little bit of a settle forward. And I don't necessarily mean like you need to push it forward from the pose where you are now. That might be the right pose, but maybe it just kind of eases into that pose. So maybe like you get a little bit more, like you hold it back a little bit here, whatever spacing works out to like kind of settle into this. Those are all like tiny notes. This is really cool. I love this pose. This is really strong. I think you need a little keep alive here, a little something to keep the character, you know, not from getting what they call like pixel lock. Like if the character has no movement on it, it tends to look like it just goes dead all of a sudden. So just the tiniest little bit of drift here, maybe in the center of gravity, or maybe a tiny little bit of drift in the rotation of the upper torso, or maybe a little tiny drift in the arms still going up. Just tiny little subtle movements where you're trying to like live within this one pose, but you're just keeping it alive in there, right? This is cool here. I love when I watch the center of gravity. I love like the dip down. I'm going to switch colors just because I can. The dip down that I'm seeing on the center of gravity is freaking awesome. I love that. What I want you to do, what I think is the right thing to do, is try to like delay this foot's forward movement a little bit longer, because it feels like it's coming forward kind of prematurely when you could kind of maybe keep it rolled and off the ground, because this is like a big pushing foot. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the forward momentum's coming from this foot. Like this leg here is just kind of like for support, but the back foot is the one pushing. So I would try to like keep this on the ground until it feels like the leg's like almost straight or hyperextended or whatever, and then start pushing it forward into this run. Like this is a really cool pose, but maybe, you know, if you have to delay that foot coming forward, you know, it'd probably also be a cool pose if the foot was back. So I don't know that this is a pose like you necessarily need to hit, but I'm just saying if the foot needs to be delayed to kind of stick on the ground a little bit longer, I think that you have the frames in there to do it. I do like the straight leg here, but maybe, and I probably gave you that note earlier, see if you have time to get here. It's hard spacing wise. Sometimes, you know, you want to hit poses and stuff, but like with my last note saying, hey, keep that foot back, it's going to be hard to like jump to these like extreme poses so quickly. Like so the bottom line is when I see this forward pose land, I feel like we need to like favor the in-between before it a little bit more, because it kind of flashes. Difficult, not always the easiest thing to solve, but maybe here, and I know I said go straight leg here, and I like that note overall, but maybe I'm gonna contradict myself, and I'm sorry about that. Maybe we can keep it a little bit less straight here, and especially in this very first like step, you know, and then you go to this pose, so we never really see that full straight pose, just to get the spacing of the foot coming forward looking a little bit better. Yeah, and so watch the, like when I watch the red leg spacing of the foot, we might have too many frames before the passing pose. You know what I mean? So these three are nice because it kind of like rolls up and then starts to move. Then we have one there, one there. So maybe bias this one back a little bit more. Just, these are spacing suggestions, but you don't have to like adhere to these. Just use your own judgment. I'm just kind of calling out where maybe I see the spacing can be pushed. I think this toe is penetrating the ground a little bit, just a little detail thing. But then yeah, maybe this one's great. That spacing seems fine, but maybe this foot can be pushed forward more this way. I know that I'm getting a lot of chicken scratch, and maybe it's becoming difficult to decipher exactly what's going on here. And then maybe push this one, try to bias this one a little bit more towards like where we're going. I'm not going to pretend to draw that, just whatever you think is cool. I mean, even if it's like just pushed a little bit more forward in space. That's a terrible pose, so ignore that. Let's see if my eraser's working today. Nope. But like the spacing on the blue leg looks pretty good here in this stride. I like that, and the spacing on the red leg looks really nice. I'm really loving like these, how clear these poses are reading. You know, maybe there's an opportunity to straighten this leg here in this pose a little bit, or a little bit more straight instead of picking it up so much. It could be a little straighter maybe with just a little bit more toe roll maybe. This is phenomenal. I love this blue leg here. I love this red leg. I like what you're doing with the arms. So all this starts to read. I think maybe you could be doing, I'm seeing a little twist in the torso, which I love. Maybe you can twist the pelvis around a little bit to help like make the legs feel like they're reaching a little bit more. And some of these spots, like here, you know, maybe the pelvis could be rotated back that way. We want to see that like left-right rotation a little bit. And then I want to track like the overall center of gravity. I'm always going on and on about the center of gravity, but it's important. This down and this curl is cool. I like it. I like that the shape change on the spine. One of the things maybe I would do, I'm gonna go back and track the center of gravity. I forgot, but I just want to say it, is I'd keep the head pointing in like the direction of intention, right? I drew a giant head on this character, but you know, either there or point it up, looking like where they're gonna jump. I think having this go down is a little distracting. You know what I mean? Okay, so getting back to what I wanted to do, and maybe everything's great with this. I just want to track it and kind of see where we're at. Just trying to get, oh, that's a little big. All right, bear with me. Just as like a bouncing ball exercise, I kind of want to check out your spacing on this stuff because that's going to be important. I know it's a pain because you have to kind of track the spacing on a million different parts on a character, right? Like I'm talking about the foot spacing, I'm talking about the center of gravity spacing, I'm talking about all these various things, and it's a lot to track all the time. But hey, that's what it takes. There's a tool where you can do this in Maya. I think it used to be called grease pencil. Maybe they changed it to blue pencil or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called these days, but you can also draw and track stuff in Maya. So, you know, maybe this shows us that maybe there could be something smoothed out going between this keyframe and that keyframe there. You know what I'm saying? But the spacing looks okay. It looks good, but I think once you do this, you can kind of keep an eye out for maybe I'm overemphasizing this, but maybe we can get like the center of gravity to do nicer little like bouncing ball arcs as it goes through the air. Like there's not a lot of up and down happening here, which maybe that's fine, but like I think it would be good maybe if this one was picked up a little bit and this one, you know, so that we get kind of like a little bit more indication of kind of like that arc between strides. And then like here to here is a big jump, you know what I mean? in your spacing, so maybe that needs to be evened out. Like this is a huge jump spacing here, but that probably serves you pretty well because it's like leaping off. It's really going to help feel that. With this leap off though, try to trail this leg as much as you can, and even like, you know, this is extreme, but try to point the foot kind of like back at where it left the ground. That is not the eraser. I miss it when it was on the back of my stylus. I'll have to figure out how to get that going again. Yeah. And maybe there's ways. I'm kind of making a mess here of these drawings. A lot going on. I think that like, so this leg here feels kind of static. There's probably a way to get it to be a little bit more dynamic throughout here. So maybe here, you know, you can do something before it like stretches out to get it kind of like a little bit more dynamic. And that's going to involve the pelvis and everything. Like I feel like this leg being straight here, and you can leave it straight even. I mean, maybe not like totally dead straight, but you can maybe leave it straight for a little bit. And then, you know, start to like get into this shape. That's nice. But yeah, like this leg feels a little too static, and I think it can be a little bit more dynamic at this part. And maybe you just didn't get to this part a ton. But overall, this is feeling nice. I am feeling like it kind of hits a corner. Like I feel like there's some flat edges. Again, talking about the arc thing. And don't worry if you can't like see this stuff as the animation plays. Like that's kind of what experience as you animate will gain you. It's like the ability to like see this stuff. I don't know, your eye gets trained, you know what I mean? But what I'm seeing is that it gets flat here and then it heads down at an angle. So I feel this transition from this to this, right? So I imagine if we're looking at like your TY curve for the cog, you know, it's like it's got some harsh corners on it or something like that. So just make sure that when you're doing his center of gravity that you get like a really nice parabola and nice arc. So I think with the issue is just, and maybe like these sets of frames need to be like nudged up a little bit to get that nice arc going across. It's not a big deal, and that's towards the end, so I don't know. Really cool though. I know this is a long critique on this. There's a lot going on. And I think it's like really cool, really it's coming along really well. I think there's probably a more successful pose we can find for the arms. I know that we're seeing like a lot of twist here in the torso, which I like. And it might suggest that like this red arm somehow goes forward to clear the head, and maybe the blue arm is back. But right now I feel like they feel a little like twisted and stuff. I can look at the reference. What's your reference guy doing? Oh yeah. So yeah, so his red arm is back. So I'm assuming that this is his red leg, if that's your red leg. So the leg closest to camera, right? And this would be his arm closest to camera. So his torso is kind of twisting like this, right? Like this would be the side, and this is the front, which makes sense. So yeah, maybe you need a little bit more of a twist. So like I use reference when I'm like, oh, how would I want to solve that? I don't know. So I go look at the reference to see. So maybe we need more of a twist so that this red arm can be back, and that'll kind of bring the blue arm out front. Here, yeah, I like where the head is kind of looking here, you know. Here he's like looking more down, but I don't know that is so important. The comment about the arms is just to clear them out of the overlap of his body to get them in silhouette. Just kind of make it a little bit stronger of a pose. And then I think also with this blue leg, if you can do something to have it like, it's nice. It's trailing by and it's like doubling up. It's really nice. But keep it moving, right? So I feel like here it's like straighter and then it gets bent. But from this point on, it doesn't keep kind of like bending up or drifting even a little bit. It seems like it kind of starts to come down. I think you could afford, like your reference here, I think you can afford to still have it be traveling upward and then swing forward like you kind of have it swinging forward. But anyways, that's a lot of notes for this that's looking like really good, really strong. So don't take it as like, oh my god, there's all this stuff wrong with it. It's looking really strong. I think these are all just ways of kind of like plussing it and making it really feel smooth and really sing. You're doing a great job. All right, keep it up. I look forward to seeing its progress next week. Keep mindful of the schedule and how much time we have left, but great work. All right,